and there's even a time we need to disobey. And you can see this in verse 12 of our passage. So Herod, the governing authority, has told the Magi, you come back and tell me, if you saw this king and where he was. But it says, having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. So God specifically revealed to the wise men, do not obey Herod. And I think that's significant. And there is a time. And of course, the reason why not to obey Herod is because Herod's trying to kill the Messiah. And you see this in other situations in life. You saw it in Nazi Germany when Christians would lie to the governing authorities and hide Jewish people. You saw it when the Berlin Wall was coming down and the downfall of communism in Poland and places like that. And so much of that resistance was led by Christian ministers and Christian priests and by just lay Christians who said, no, this is wrong and we need to change. And so there is a time to resist. Now, it's hard to figure out when do you resist the government and when do you obey the government. And frankly, I think probably in 99.5% of the cases, we're just to obey the government. We may not like taxes, but you have to pay taxes. But there's also a time to disobey. That's pretty easy. If the Nazi officer is coming to your door and saying, do you have Jews in the house? Well, the moral answer to that's pretty easy. No, we don't. The personal answer to that is a lot more difficult. Solzhenitsyn said this. Solzhenitsyn, great Russian writer, was put in the gulags in Russia for years and years. He said, when it first started, they would arrest us, and nobody complained about the arrests. And he said, if people had just yelled in the streets, I'm being arrested for no reason, we might have been able to stop the later arrests. But nobody put up any resistance. So where do you draw the line on restrictions and say no more, either as a citizen or as a Christian? And I want to share just one principle, and I've shared a little bit of this before, but it's just so much in my heart that I have to share it. Fortunately, what I'm sharing is now also the position of our leadership, though who knows if it will change in the future. In Vermont, I think it's Vermont, one of the states, they're encouraging children to report on their parents. They're saying if your parents have a big party, you should report on them. Now, I can't imagine anything more likely to ruin a family than having children report on their parents or parents report on their children. Other places are encouraging the same thing. Turn in your neighbor, keep vigilant and watch over them. And that we may think it may make us safe. I don't think it will make us safe. But we may even feel noble and righteous by reporting on these people. But I want to tell you something very important. That is what totalitarian governments do, whether they're on the right or the left. One of the first and most important things they do is they get neighbors to report on each other, and they get family members to report on each other. And I could never figure out how this worked, but now I understand. You start with little things, and then it just gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And first it's something small, and then all of a sudden